And Bon Nguyen is the president of the Vietnamese community in Victoria, an executive member of the Vietnamese community in Australia, and the former General Secretary of the Vietnamese community in Australia. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in the studio, Mr. Nguyen. Now, as we mentioned, the government isn't confirming any details about this suspected asylum seeker boat that's at sea, but we did manage to speak to someone from a group called Voice Australia, which works with Vietnamese refugees. And he says he's spoken to a mother of one of the asylum seekers on this boat, and he says that they are indeed Vietnamese people on this vessel. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding. I thank you for the opportunity to have me here on the program. My understanding is that it is about 30 or so Vietnamese people on this boat. You know, where they are at the moment, we have no idea, but we understand that the government is actually taking a very draconian approach, and that is to keep the public, as always, in the dark, as you have known.
This representative from Voice Australia who gave us this information also said that this man was part of that group of 30 who are believed to be related, and they're apparently being harassed by Chinese authorities. They're a fishing family, and one of the fishermen has had his fishing vessel sunk several times by Chinese authorities, yet the Vietnamese authorities aren't doing anything to protect them. Is this a common story in your understanding?
My understanding is it has been a common story that the Chinese ship has been rampaging the Vietnamese fishermen boat in the Vietnam water on a regular basis. But the Vietnamese government choose not to do anything about that. Now, the Vietnamese citizen has understood that this to be a betrayal of the Vietnamese people. Therefore, there have been an ongoing increasing voice from the normal Vietnamese citizen to call for normal Vietnamese people to protect the interests of the nation, that is Vietnam. And because of that, Vietnam has taken a very, very draconian approach in actually abusing these Vietnamese people, if I can put it like that.
So if all that is true, and according to this person that was spoken to, the mother of one of the passengers on this boat, that is their account, if all that is true generally, do you think it's a good enough reason for Vietnamese to flee the country and seek asylum?
Mind you, may I remind you that Vietnam's human rights record is actually worse, reported earlier this year. This is not the only sign of the worst human rights record in Vietnam. There are other issues as well. If I can bring you back just about a week ago, on the 10th of July, there was so-called in Vietnam, they call land grabbing. It means that the Vietnamese government is grabbing land from the poor farmers. And the way they do that is actually they bring in the bulldozer in and actually clear out the poor farmers. And the horrific scene that if you watch on YouTube, you will see that a poor woman has actually been drive on by the bulldozer. So she was believed to be killed. So this is a very, very harsh and very draconian, the way that actually the Vietnamese Communist government is actually treating its own people. The people have no more hope in its government, and let alone they fear for their life. I mean, you can't even protect your own border, and you can't even protect for your own people. What hope does the people have? I believe that is human rights issue, and I think that that's where our Australian government need to not give the benefit of the doubt, but need to give the proper assessment to the people who come to Australia and actually seek refugees. It would be fair for me to say this statement. No one would choose to be refugees if they have other alternative.
So what do you believe should happen to this particular group of asylum seekers?
I believe that Australian government or Australia have an obligation to the international treaty. I believe that they should be given the proper assessment before a decision is actually reached.
And because the federal government says that it won't comment on situations like this, so describing it as an operational matter, unfortunately we're unable to confirm exactly what is happening. But there was an instance earlier this year, wasn't there, in April, of another boatload of Vietnamese asylum seekers. Now, they were at sea for almost a month before they were processed and eventually sent back to Vietnam. Would you say that's not an ideal situation?
Oscar, can I just bring you back? That's actually 46 people. Up to this stage, these 46 people have been sent back to Vietnam. Can our Australian government or can any of the officials from the Australian government confirm to me that these people are safe and sound in Vietnam? No one can confirm that. The fact that no one can confirm that, can we be sure that they are actually treated properly in Vietnam? I do heard rumors, and it need to be verified, that these people has been, at least a couple of them has been treated unfairly. And this information needs to be verified, and therefore that, I urge that our generosities or our Australian government need to reflect on the values of humanity that we have. At least I wish that someone in the government or someone in the Australian broader community to be someone like Honourable Malcolm Fraser.
So you're not confident that if this current group of asylum seekers were sent back to Vietnam, you're not confident that they would be safe and sound?
Well, look, if they were to sent back, if I can bring you back just after the fall of Saigon, for example, on the 30th of April, when the North Vietnamese Communist regime took over, what did they say? Indeed, Vivian Nguyen, the Vice President today, said on ABC Radio, they said that, all right, let's just celebrate, let's just forget, and let's just have a few meetings. And all of the South Vietnamese soldiers come out and just put their hand up, here I am. What they end up was actually in concentration camps. Some of them actually over 30 years. And some of them never see their families again. So can we trust a regime? Also, or can we trust any promise that actually put to us from such a regime? That's the question that I think that we need to put back to our Australian government or the people in consideration.
Yes, it's still very much a developing situation, isn't it? But we'll have to leave it there. Bon Nguyen, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
And thank you very much for your precious time, and thank you, the listener as well. Thank you.